Hello students, I'll be taking you on the subject literature today. And the starting point for studying literature is to look at what is literary appreciation. What I mean by literary appreciation is the ability to read, enjoy, and study a particular work of art in order to make a judgment about it. Because that's what literary appreciation is all about. But there's no way you can read literature without making your judgment, because your judgment will form 90% or 100% of whatever output you are bringing out from any literary work, be it a novel, be it drama, be it poetry. So like I said, literary appreciation is your ability to enjoy, read, understand, and make your judgment about any work of art. Furthermore, we are going to look at definition of literature. It's important for you to know what is literature. Literature ordinarily is a written work which is valid as a work of art. Any written document that is valid as a work of art. It is also defined as a creative, imaginative work, because literature deals with imagination. A creative, imaginative work that uses language, plot, and setting to express a thought. Because in literature, you're expressing your thoughts. I call it an imaginative work because when authors, or when artists, or when writers write, when they write novels, when they write drama, they create things. And that's why we have a whole gamut of literature, literary works, the Soyinkas, the Achebes, the Isidore Okpeos, and others, coming out with beautiful literary piece. Like I said, literature deals with imagination. Furthermore, literature equally deals with emotions and thoughts. You're trying to express your emotions and thoughts into writing. You want to put it in writing. And people have done that beautifully. So that at your stage, at the level at which you apply it to your examination, is very important that you appreciate this work, because that will form the basis of what you're asked in your exam. You can ask you, give an account of a particular, examine a particular character. It is what that writer, author has written that will give you an idea of what will form your judgment. So that's what literary appreciation is about. Then furthermore, there are certain ingredients we need to know. It's like you're building a house. If you're building a house, you have to have the basic foundation. You have to start it from the foundation. That is the structure. Without the structure, the building might collapse. So what I have here as figures of speech, they are integral parts of literary appreciation. Figures of speech are those spices, those ingredients we need to appreciate work of art. Be it drama, be it poetry, be it prose, a novel or a short story or whatever. For example, the first item we're going to look at is simile. It's a common thing, we use it on a daily basis. If you read a work of art, maybe poetry, you come across simile from time to time. If you read a prose, that's novel, you come across, even drama, a lot of them are employed in all these genres of literature. Writers employ them. For instance, simile, if I may define it simply for you, is a comparison, because literature deals with comparison. Simile is a comparison of two things with the use of as and like. A comparison of two things with the use of as and like. For example, if you say Tokpai is as intelligent as Aristotle, that's simile. An example of simile. If you also say he speaks like a politician. That's simile. Or he says, he's as beautiful as Mona Lisa. That's a simile. So, the most important thing about simile is that you should note that it compares two things with as and like. When that as and like is not there, it's no longer simile. So the next figure of speech we're going to look at is metaphor. Metaphor is equally a comparison. When you are using metaphor, you are no longer using as and like. You make an implied comparison. Metaphor is an implied comparison. Where simile we say is like his heart is like that of a stone. The metaphor we say he has a heart of stone. What do I mean by heart of stone? If you see somebody has a heart of stone, you are saying that the person is wicked. That is it. I'll give you a copious example of metaphor. If you say, he is the sunshine of my life. He is the sunshine of my life. Metaphorically, you are saying that person is so dear to you that he brings joy to you. Instead of saying, I want you to look at it. If I just say ordinary, because in literature we'll talk about the figurative meaning, or let me put it, the literal meaning, different from the literary meaning. Literal meaning. The literal meaning is ordinary meaning. Ordinary meaning. The literary meaning is the figurative meaning. Figurative, that's the figurative. Writers, especially poets, figurative meaning. This is ordinary meaning. Writers, especially poets, don't use literal meaning. They use literary meaning. That's the deep meaning. I can be coming from Oshodi now. If I say it was difficult coming to get to Oduduwa Way, I'm using an ordinary meaning. But if I want to use a literary meaning, as it was hell getting to this place. Even if everybody use metaphor unknowingly, you don't know you are using metaphor. Our fathers use it. Idioms are equally metaphorical. If you say the boy is a black sheep of the family, it's an idiom, but it's a form of metaphor. Do you understand? So, idioms, proverbs have their metaphorical undertone. Our fathers use them. We use them on the street. We use them in our offices. We use them when we write essays. As students, you should learn to use figurative meanings in your write-up. It helps to beautify your work of art. It helps to beautify what you are writing, whether you are writing a poem, whether you are writing a novel, whether you are writing a drama, so that you don't use pedestal language. There's what we call pedestal language in literature. In literature, there's what we call pedestal language. That's the ordinary language. What we call pedestal language. See, your language is so pedestal. It's too ordinary. So in literature, we employ deeper language, the pregnant meaning. So when you read a work of art, that's why we say literature students are highly reflective. They use metaphor. They use a whole lot of. Okay, if you say the boy, Tokbe is a pig. Is a pig. You mean Tokbe is dirty. Metaphorically, you say Tokbe is a pig. But if you want to bring it out to the literal form, the ordinary form, you say he's dirty. You know, like I told you, simile use as and like. Why in metaphor you don't use as and like? Instead of say the boy is like a pig, you say the boy is a pig. You use an implied comparison. That's why we call it a metaphor. Metaphor is metaphor contains imageries. Metaphor contains symbols. You understand me? They contain symbols, they contain imageries that helps to give it a deeper meaning for you to. I was telling somebody the other day, there's this story I was reading, that the man married 2 wives and said one of the senior wife is okay, quiet, she's not troublesome, but the second wife is a nagging woman. The man bought dress for the first wife, and when he was getting on his way, he realized that he has forgotten to buy for the second wife. You know what he said? He said that, I know Mboyi will set the house on fire. That's in metaphorical language. Instead of saying we cause problem. That is, metaphor uses deeper meaning. You say you set up, or you set the roof on fire. That's, you will create problem. So that's metaphor. Let's go to the next item. The third item is personification. Writers use personification because they want to give inanimate object human attributes. Inanimate, that's non-living object. I can say the bag is tired and so it cannot carry my things. Are you following, students? Say the bag is tired. When you say the bag is tired, when you say the bag is tired to somebody, you say, what do you mean? How can you say the bag is tired? But you are giving the bag a human attribute. That's why we call it personification. You are giving human attribute to inanimate objects. If you say, the day is still young, we use it now when we wake up. You just look at the time and say, oh, the day is still, or maybe you are traveling, you've timed yourself as to when you get to your destination and say, oh, I can see fire on the day is still young. And so you can say, how can you say day young? You can only say human being is young. So you are giving human attribute to inanimate objects. So the essence of doing all this is to add color to what you are doing, to your write-up, to your poem, to your essays, to your drama, to your prose. Most prose writers they use heavy figures of speech. Most poetry writers, like the Soyinkas, the Achebes, the great authors, the great poets of today and yesterday, use a lot of poetry, hidden language, metaphor, personification. For instance, you say, the sky, the stars are smiling at us. That's personification. You are giving stars human object. Then the next one we are going to look at is hyperbole. Hyperbole is an extreme form of exaggeration for emphasis. People use hyperbole for emphasis. It's an exaggeration for emphasis. For instance, it is not possible to say that you have traveled around the world. I have not seen somebody who has traveled around the world. I think it's not I see it as an impossible feat to attain. So that's hyperbole. Hyperbole tend to exaggerate. To exaggerate a lot of things. Like I told you, while we are doing all this, there is no way you can study literature without knowing all this. You'll be doing, it's like you will just be rigmaroling if you don't know this. Because the first thing for you to know is this. They're the foundation, they're the basics, they're the basis of literature. It's just like a farmer going to the farm without holding. These are the tools. I call them the tools. All these terms are the tools of literature. You use them in literature. And like I told you, literature transcends everything we do in life. Literature, even the bed we sleep is literature. You are talking literature. Our parents talk poetry at home. They talk proverbs, that's literature. They say so many things. Everything they say, even science is literature. There's literature in science. I've read literary works that are scientific in nature, and so on and so forth. Because literature is a whole, it encompasses, it's a broad spectrum of so many things in life. It's a mirror of life. Literature mirrors life. As you're mirroring your wife, that's literature. As your wife is nagging, she's doing literature in the house. So we can put it in form of literature. We write a nagging wife. There's a book I've read, A Nagging Wife. So, and there's a poetry, I've read the poetry, A Nagging Woman. So, Alliteration is the next one. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound. Recurrence of consonant sound in the line of poetry. What do I mean by consonant sound? You know, in English we have consonants. So like I told you that a repetition of consonant sound is alliteration. In English language, because literature and English are brothers and sisters, in English language there's what we call consonant sound. And we have the consonant sound. Examples of consonants are the bar sound, the key sound, and like I said, alliteration, repetition. The repetition of consonant sound is called alliteration. If you say, look at the word like the popular word, it might sound funny. If you say big boy boiling beans, if you say big boy boiling beans. What is alliterated here? Ba is alliterated. If you say fair is foul, fair is foul. So you say fair is foul. So what is alliterated here is FF. FF is alliterated. And so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that when you are reading a poem and you see a repetition of this consonant sound there, you know there's alliteration. B, this is ba, 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 ba. This is and so on and so forth. If gi is repeated in a line of poetry, you know there is repetition, there's alliteration, sorry. You can have it severally like that. So alliteration is repetition of. Then the next one is oxymoron. Oxymoron is another aspect of, is another figure of speech we use in literature. Oxymoron. What we mean by literature? A contrasting of coming side by side of two contrasting words. If, for instance, painful laughter, happy sorrow, sweet sorrow. Those are oxymoron. And you find them in literature. You find them in mostly poetry. Like I told you, oxymoron is the juxtaposing of two contrasting words existing side by side. I made example, I said happy, sad, painful laughter, sweet sorrow, and so on and so forth. So the next one we're going to look at is irony. Irony is saying the opposite of something. Irony is a figure of speech in which a statement is made and the intended meaning is different from the original meaning. It's different. It's the opposite of the original. Let me put this, opposite of the original. If you say the name of Britain's biggest dog is Teeny, that's irony. Teeny is a little thing. It's a little puppy. So that's an ironical statement.